Welcome back. Welcome back. You are listening to Whissel Wednesdays here on AM 1170, The Answer. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with Whissel Realty, joined as always by Mr. Jason Hall with the downtown San Diego Chargers.
Go!
Love it. There's a little smile on your face.
Hey, I'm just excited that there's still hope, right? Because like 3 months ago, you were grinning like, oh, they're gone. They're going to be the Carson Chargers. Just accept it, Mr. Hall. Get rid of the bowl. You got to make a change. What are you going to do? And they're still here.
It seemed hopeless. It did.
It did. It really did seem hopeless. He saw me like tearing up.
He's literally, there was this show we did, and Jason, when he's not happy, he wears this black Aztecs gear when he's like down and out on the Chargers, and he was wearing his black Aztecs gear, and we were talking. He was choking up on air because the realization was setting in that he might lose.
And it's still, we still might lose. But from what I've heard, LA doesn't want the Chargers because they now have an NFL team. And I think if they had no team, they would be happy to have the Chargers there.
Right.
But majority of LA
now that
are
they've got a team, they don't
we
care
got the
to have
Rams,
two.
the Raiders still want to try to come here. We really don't care about you Chargers. And I think if you ask them, they'd rather have the Raiders than the Chargers either way. So they're hoping that we pass.
And LA is now less valuable to the Chargers because the Rams are going to have at least one season there to gather fans. So if the Chargers move in, they're going to be eating like the scraps. Like there's not going to be much left for the Chargers in terms of fan base.
We call that sloppy seconds, Paul.
Oh,
family show.
This is, man. It's a conservative radio show here, Kyle.
Man,
I mean, it is Whissel Wednesdays, but come on.
You guys got dirty minds. I'm just talking about seconds.
Yes, sir.
You could be talking about sloppy joes.
Yeah, gosh, you guys got dirty minds. I thought you guys were conservatives. Come on, what's wrong with you?
Can you guys imagine not having the Chargers in San Diego, though? I mean, I grew up here. It's like, grew up going to games with my dad and stuff. I couldn't imagine them not being part
Some of my earliest memories are running around the house singing the San Diego Superchargers song. Like that's what I remember being a kid. Like the Chargers are just ingrained in my DNA. And if
Monday
they ever
night
left,
football,
exactly.
Sunday night. I mean, it's going to be a very sad day if they do leave. It's going to be
the first draft pick I remember actually like watching on TV was Junior Seau.
Really?
I mean, so that's how ingrained in my DNA the San Diego Chargers are. And if they leave, I don't even know what I'm going to do.
Well, things are looking good.
They're looking better.
Like
They're
East
looking
Village.
better.
They're looking good. Looking better, improved, positive.
But now we got to get the
things.
City to okay it. 2/3 the vote. That's the tough
let's think hypothetically. So
I
we've
think
got
that's why the mayor's disappointed. The mayor's like not too excited. Ron Roberts wasn't too excited yesterday when
they're taking the path of least resistance.
Well,
the mayor is going to get to hang his hat on whether or not he gets this done. If he gets this stadium deal done, he's the next governor of California. It's just what's going to happen. That's what happens. So he wants to be the mayor that gets the stadium deal done because he can then run for governor and be like, look, I pulled off the impossible down in San Diego. Just think about what I can do for the state.
No.
That's how it goes.
That's an awesome point. I never thought about that.
I know. Smart, just like Trump. Love it. So let's talk about this. If this stadium goes in, we talked about what would happen in possibly areas like Barrio Logan improving. So we've got a beautiful timing here with an appraiser in studio, Mr. Dave Morris. So let's talk about what happens when redevelopment like that comes into an area. I know you live in an area where there's been a lot of redevelopment. So talk a little bit about that, Dave, and how that affects home values.
Right, yeah, well, I've seen it happen in North Park, and I live in the South Park, and those areas, they've, tripled in value, they've gotten really expensive. So an area like Barrio Logan or Logan Heights, when something like that goes in, I think it'll draw a lot of people, and a lot of people that maybe don't want to buy a condo, that type of thing. You can get a house over there for similar price to what an entry-level condo is. So I think it would totally raise property values. And it's right, I always like to say, it's right in the path of progress, right?
Right. So, I mean, if somebody's looking to buy a property and you know that redevelopment is imminent in that area, wouldn't be a bad idea to buy in an area like that.
No, not at all. I think it'd be a really good investment.
Get in the way of progress? Is that what you're saying, Kyle? Dave?
Well, I don't know if you get in the way of progress, but you jump right into
get in line with progress. You don't want to get in the way of progress because that would, kind of mean you're stopping the progress, Jason. So you want to get in line and get in the track with progress, not get in the way of it.
It's all about languaging.
Sometimes you just got to get in the way.
Fall in the path.
Success pushes, it'll push you ahead, so.
Well, your hair got in the way of the wind this morning, clearly. Something happened with that hair. Brian, we need to get a good shot of Jason's hair today. The Trump look that Jason's pulling off. We need to put that up on the Facebook page. Whissel Realty on Facebook. Find it. You can see this amazing hairdo that Jason is sporting today because it's pretty epic, my friend.
Oh, wow.
Is it or is it not an endorsement?
I'm pretty sure that's a clear endorsement. Next to just tattooing Trump on your forehead, that's the next closest thing you can do to endorse the man.
Wow.
Love it. So, Dave, let's talk a little bit about the appraisal world. So, how long have you been in the business for?
14 years now.
What got you into it?
Long time. I wanted to get into real estate, and so I shadowed a couple of people. I was going to be a loan officer, do that kind of thing. Didn't want to do that. Ended up like Jason.
That like me with hair like that.
Looked at being a real estate agent, and I had a friend who was an appraiser, and I went and job shadowed him for a week, and it was in 2001, and it looked like it would be a good fit for me. I wanted to learn as much as I could about the real estate industry, so did that, and then, 2002, the market just took off, so...
Okay, and so, Jason, you've been in the loan game for a long time. You and Dave worked together on a lot of deals. In the past, as a lender, you had the opportunity to pick who was doing the appraisals for your properties, and I know that that's changed in the last few years. So talk a little bit about that, guys.
Yeah, appraisers kind of got hosed, if I could just say that.
Everybody got hosed, right? And that's the government regulation. And again, we talked about this last week. You missed it, Kyle, and you probably heard it. But that was the whole reason why Clinton did this bark. Do we have that bark? Where's the bark at? Get that bark up there, Paul. But she said, hey, the Republicans are saying the reason the economy is slow is all the regulation that us on the left put in. And that's a lie. And I have a dog. Me and Bill have a trained dog that'll bark when they hear a lie.
We've trained this dog. And the dog, if it's not true, he's going to bark.
That's not her bark, but let's hear her bark. You got her bark? She's sitting there jumping up and down barking, Kyle. Anyways, the regulation that the government... There you go. You like that? That's her bark. So the regulation that the left pushed in definitely screwed up real estate and slowed up, definitely screwed the appraisers, because now anybody gets the appraisal. It's kind of next man up, right, Dave?
Right, yeah. Well, everything goes through they instituted a third party, right? So before, I could work directly with a company like yours or whatever and have a business relationship, had a book of business, lots of clients. And then it got basically pulled into a third-party system, was called an appraisal management company, and now everything goes through them. And the first thing they did is they just started lowballing appraisers. And appraisers were working for a half of what they used to get for a fee.
And they were taking money for taking an appointment.
Basically.
They literally were taking half the appraisal fee for saying, Jason, you need an order appraisal? Great. Dave, I'm going to give you half the money you got yesterday because I set the appointment with Jason. And it's just the way the government now works. And so there are some good things the regulation has done. There's not as the crazy loans. So there's some positive stuff out there. But I think this is one thing that's really hurt real estate because you're not getting the best appraiser.
Right. I know from the real estate side of things, half the time when I get a call for an appraisal, like we have one in Spring Valley, call comes in, 760 phone number. So clearly they're in North County. Like, what does somebody in North County know about Spring Valley? To make it worse, a lot of the times I get a call from a 714 area code. I'm getting Orange
LA.
County, right. South LA, people calling to do an appraisal in East County. Like, how does that make sense?
Right. Well, that's the problem. So the appraisal management companies will broadcast out to 50 appraisers, even more that they have on their panel, and they say, who wants to do this appraisal for this fee with this turn time? And if those are the guys that want to do it, then they'll bid that fee. And their fees are seriously, they're like $200, $225, $250. So I've been able to cut out a lot of those companies, work with direct lenders, better clients, but that's definitely something that's going on.
Interesting. So what was the main reason that the change was made?
Well, there
from
was
the government perspective.
There's always a few bad apples. And there was definitely lenders and agents who would look at an appraiser and go, look, if you can get this house to appraise at $400, we'll promise you more business. And the idiot appraiser was like, okay, even though it's only worth $350, I'll go ahead and do that. Now, instead of putting that person in jail, and all three of those people, if they, we could prove did that, they decided to penalize everybody. And the people on the left said, hey, we're going to regulate and do a better job and bring in these appraisal management companies to help administer, to make sure there's no, funny business going on. And so that's kind of the reason why it happened. From everything I've read and done, and stuff can still happen because now we're getting, as you mentioned, poor appraisers. Because now it's the lowest man. Who will work for the cheapest is who's getting sometimes a lot of this business. And that's not the person you want out there if I'm a buyer, if I'm somebody wanting to refinance my house. And that's the other thing. A lot of these companies, will look on Zillow, and we've talked about Zillow in the past, that it's a really rough estimate. It's a assessment. It's not correct. And people go, oh, yeah, your house is worth $400. Let's go ahead and collect me $450 appraisal funds, Mr. Borrower. And the appraiser goes out there and says it's worth $350.
Right.
And now the client doesn't get their money back. Where in the past, when you had a relationship with somebody like Dave and his team, we could call and say, hey, Dave, roughly what's this house worth? And he's, it's about $350. Hey, okay, Mr. Borrower, it's not worth getting it refinanced right now because your appraisal is probably only coming at $350. So let's just go ahead and wait. And now they're having to burn that $400 to $500 to find that out. Because so many of the internet lenders are just saying, yeah, it's worth, what Zillow says it's worth, or that. Well, give me your credit card and we'll just start the appraisal process. So be careful out there.
Right, and that's who it ultimately ends up hurting is the consumer, right? Because they're having to pay more for an appraisal. Sometimes it doesn't come in, that sort of thing. So when the government regulates something, they ultimately want it to be beneficial for the consumer. But in this, I think it's the complete opposite.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like in real estate. There's realtors that'll work for significantly less money, but the saying holds true. You get what you pay for.
Totally.
So when these appraisal management companies are undercutting you as the appraiser, you're not willing to work for, peanuts. What's the saying when you, help me out, when you pay in peanuts, you get monkeys. Like that, there's a saying.
You pay in peanuts, you get monkeys.
Yeah, there's a saying like that.
How come I haven't heard that? Or if I have, it hasn't stuck.
It's probably come up in the last 20 years, and you're not really very up on the trends.
Must be the hair.
Yeah, you're getting in the way of progress, so that's probably the problem there, Jason. But it just holds true in anything in life. If you are paying people a very small amount, wherein they used to get paid a higher amount, you're going to get the bottom of the barrel people doing it, and therefore people who are getting appraisals done on their house are not getting the most qualified appraisers to do the job, and that can cost them. I know we had one recently in Escondido, and the appraisal came in $200,000 below what the purchase agreement was at.
Wow.
I mean, how does something like that happen, Dave?
Right. Well, I think that's, because appraisers don't know the value. They kind of miss the mark, And I think I helped you guys out with that one, and we actually challenged that appraisal. That's a whole other thing. You can actually challenge appraisals, so.
Talk more about that.
So there's a formal process called a reconsideration of value. And if something comes in low, the agents and loan officers can ask for the appraiser to relook at comps and relook at the value and relook at the job they did and ask for, like it's called, a reconsideration of value and actually come up in value. So
the issue that we run into on the real estate side, though, is once that first appraisal's in, in that particular case, I think it was around a 900 is what the appraisal came in at, and it was under contract at 1.1. Once a buyer sees that initial appraisal at 900, that's the number that's stuck in that buyer's head. I mean, you could do a reconsideration of value, but you're kind of screwed at that point from the real estate side of things. Even if, the reconsideration's done and it jumps up to 1.1, that initial number's stuck in that buyer's head. Even if you get a second opinion appraisal, it's really hard to turn a buyer's opinion around.
Well, we all want $1 million house for 900.
Yeah.
And now that the buyer's seen that appraisal based on one appraiser's opinion that the house is only worth 900 at that moment, even if he changes it a week later, well, that's what we all want, right? We all want as much as we can get for as cheap as possible.
Right.
Right. Well, and so a lot of the times that's initiated by the buyer themselves, so.
Yeah, so I think it's a screwy game. So I want to get into, we're going to head to a break here, but when we get back, I want to get into how these numbers come about on an appraisal, because most consumers look at it and it's like hieroglyphics. So I want to have you help our listeners understand a little better about how you guys come up with your numbers. Again, you're listening to Whissel Wednesdays on AM 1170, The Answer.